Well, hello and welcome to Third and Long, and wasn't that great to hear Let Me Out by Electric Mary to get you fired up. We're Australia's newest podcast, providing you a 360-degree all-access areas to everything NFL with an Aussie twist. And Third and Long is brought to you by Little Birdie TV and topsport.com.au. I'm Corey McKernan. Well, I was a former AFL MVP, but more importantly, I'm an Indianapolis Colts fan. So hopefully a big season for the Colts. And I'm going to welcome in Paige Cardona, who's that special. She's got a segment after her, but Paige, a very big welcome.
Hello, Corey. I tell you what, I expected more on the lick from you, mate, particularly after a pretty poor week by the Colts. But no, it's good to be back. It's fun to be back here for another episode of Third and Long. And my 49ers got up, so I'm in the winner's house tonight. But you, mate, your team might have a bit to prove in week 2, I think.
And also we welcome in MG, Mark, Goodwill and Marco. Not such a good week for the Patriots.
No, Corey. Late fumble on the drive with about 3 minutes to go cost us. We would have put us in front. Not saying we would have won the game, Corey, but yeah, it was a tough loss to have. But upward signs. Mac Jones looked pretty good, actually, so we'll take it going forward and we'll move into week 2.
Yeah, they did look all right. It was very much a case of, it felt like later in the game, there's that Patriots mantra about do your job, and there was a few blokes that didn't do your job. But look, later we'll be also joined. We've obviously got Marco, joined by Toprope, and hasn't he got a fairly good head wobble after? And we'll be talking all things betting in the NFL in their segment To the House. But first, it's been a huge round one. It's been amazing to have football back. And we will go to Paige and talk about all things in the NFL this week. Paige.
Boys, wowee. Let's start off with the Bucks and Cowboys opener. What a cracking game. It certainly set the tone for what we saw in week 1. Incredible game, right down to the wire. You kind of love as an Aussie seeing a kicker having to convert the points to get the win after, well, just about on the siren. It's very AFL, but for the NFL fans, you love seeing a kicker actually score that winning points. And I tell you what, for the Cowboys to have Dak Prescott and to be that close to winning, throwing for 400 yards, boys, what did we make of the game? Marco, tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, it was a great game. What a way to start the season. The bookends were unbelievable. Monday Night Football, we'll talk about a bit later, was great as well. But, yeah, I think, Paige, I think the Cowboys take probably – I know they lost the game, but I think they take more out of the game with Prescott proving himself that he's lost none of his confidence. He took a few hits and he carried the offense and he did everything he could to get the win. The Bucs just outstayed him in the end. Corey,
no Zach Martin. Was it such a problem for the Cowboys? I know we drummed it up that there'd be a real problem there on the O-line, but gee, Dak Prescott, he made these his receivers move, didn't he?
He certainly did. And then, look, I think your heart was in your mouth, I think, for the Cowboys fans when they were put back on the 1 yard line at the start of the game. And anything can happen in those situations. But I think it was such a confidence booster for Dak to be able to get up there, as I said, right on your 1 yard line to throw a great pass. And that really set the tone for a great game. And look, they didn't really miss the big fella, but look, he's going to be a welcome addition moving forward. But I tend to agree, like Marco said, I think even though they lost the game, I think there was a lot to look forward to. I think even their defense, even though the Bucs did score some points on them, it did seem like the Bucs had to work a little bit harder compared to last year, where there were different games where the Cowboys just got opened up.
Look, you're not wrong. And the Bucs now could foreseeably be undefeated going into their round 11 matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. They do not play another playoff contender for the next 9 weeks. It's just unbelievable.
Dangerous, Paige. Very dangerous.
Unbelievable.
That sort of stuff. That's like when you're in the AFL, if you say someone's going to kick this goal, he hasn't missed all year, and then he goes.
Put the Moz on. Over in Green Bay.
We've just started round 1 and Paige has already moved to round 11 in the season.
Look, I think you've got to look at the schedule. The schedule means a lot in NFL, and for those that follow it so tightly, when you look at who the next 9 opponents are for Brady and the Bucks, it is not within reason to consider that they will be 10-0 potentially going into that round 11 matchup. But moving on over to the game that was supposed to be at the Superdome in New Orleans, it got shifted to Jacksonville off the back of Hurricane Ida having to force the game to a neutral venue. The Saints hosted the Packers, and I tell you what, Marco, Jameis Winston, is he the answer, or is he the answer in the Drew Brees post era?
He's got off to a good start, Paige. He played, he did his job basically, like Corey said, with a bit like the mantra from the Patriots. He just come out and he made sure he was error free. He just did his job and played his the big moments well. I tried to tell Toprope in the previews last week that Aaron Rodgers doesn't play well on the grass, and it's boded well again.
He had the fewest yards for the most touchdowns this week, did Winston. But your guy that you've been speaking a lot about, Corey, Aaron Rodgers, it all kind of came to a head in week 1, didn't it?
It certainly did. It's hard not to think, and even though I did listen to Aaron Rodgers, he does a regular segment on the Pat McAfee show each week, and yeah, it's a great segment for those who haven't heard it. Of course, if you're not listening to this, make sure check out the interview he does with Pat McAfee. And look, I felt like as much as all the conversation and even hearing Aaron Rodgers talk this morning, it's hard not to think that all the games of the off season, interrupted preseason, not coming back, not working with your teammates, or coming back to your teammates very late, it all added up. It's easy to say it in hindsight, but when you add up all the little things that happen, it's no surprise that they were very disconnected in how they played.
Over in a AFC showdown, the rematch of the championship game last year, Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs, it was an absolute showdown. And in the end, the Browns, they came in pretty hyped, Marco, but they just couldn't get the job done against the Chiefs, who have showed no signs of slowing down, sorry.
Yeah, the Chiefs were awesome. Geez, it would have been good to be there on their, the Chiefs were rocking late. And, the Cleveland Browns going forward, you can't be on them to win the Super Bowl. There's big hype around them and stuff like that. But the moment, big games, they just, they could not have possibly lost that game. They led 3 different stages in the match, almost by double digits. And just not to close out that game on a big stage is really disappointing for them. The Chiefs, they get away with it, but I think this will hurt the Browns more psychologically going forward for the season.
Corey, obviously the Pat Mahomes factor is huge. The connection he has with Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, there are just so many weapons and options there for KC that you can never really doubt them at all. But this game was just really, would you say it was won by KC, or was it completely lost by the Browns?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that today because I knew we'd talk about it. I think in the end it was a perfect blend. Like when you become a good team, you nearly have this expectation and that you can win from anywhere. And conversely, an organization like the Cleveland Browns, it's always that what's going to go wrong scenario. And look, I think we touched on it. Marco might have touched on it. It's also having the crowds back in the stadium, because I think that they were about to do that. There was a punt return they were going to do, and then the kicker fumbled it, and that really changed the whole game. And then it became a calamity after that, and that's what led to the Chiefs winning. But yeah, it's just an interesting dynamic having 2 different organizations, one that's been to the Super Bowl and got that winning feeling, and you've got another one that's still finding their way, and they need to get over it. They've got to win games like that before like Marco said, before we can consider them a legitimate contender. They're going to get some scalps in some big situations and get some good wins.
Well, a big one went begging, as you said, boys. They lost the game essentially, were leading a number of times throughout and just couldn't get the chocolates to the end. But a team that did get the chocolates, that did make a big statement in week 1, and I think it may be the biggest statement in week 1 because of how they were written off. But The Pittsburgh Steelers traveled to Highmark Stadium, took on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, who have been probably the biggest hype team coming into the NFL season, just ahead of the Browns, I would have thought. And Big Ben, he showed up. And Marco, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Big Ben, he might be in his swan song this year, but the Steelers looked very, very, very slick.
Yeah, that was a big win for them to go into Buffalo. I think Buffalo were 8-1 last year on their home deck. So, as well as being underrated coming into the year, to go into Buffalo, and as Corey just touched on with the crowds, that was a big win. And they were also down 10-0 early, so it's not like they led from the front and quieted the crowd. The crowd were up and about early, and the Steelers were. I think they just strangled Buffalo, actually. I think they did everything on the defensive ball to take the ball out of the offensive hands of Buffalo and Allen, and just got the job done then. And Pittsburgh's offense didn't have to do too much. They only have to put 23 points on the board to get the win. So I'm not overly convinced about Pittsburgh. My take on Pittsburgh at the moment, I think they're going to be a very boring side to watch. They're going to be very defense-orientated. There's going to be a lot of low-scoring games and close games. We'll see as the season goes on. But, yeah, the Buffalo Bills would want to they've got a big match now going down to Miami. They wouldn't want to start 0-2.
You're not wrong. And to touch on that defense, we didn't really see too much of the blitz that we've come to know and love the Blitzburgh for. They were definitely all over the man coverage, and the pass rush was phenomenal. So, interesting, though, Corey, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Josh Allen and the Bills, they just kept throwing the ball. There was no intention to try and play a running game whatsoever. They continued to throw right until the end of the game. I just thought, why aren't you trying to throw, why aren't we trying something different here? Josh Allen was constantly strangulated and suffocated. The wideouts would just close down constantly. What did you make of the Bills? What's the best way to summarize week one for them?
I think it might have been a case of a team believing its own bullshit in the preseason. I think that, well, let's face it, sometimes, and I've been there, from an AFL parlance, when sometimes everyone talks you up in the preseason, tells you how great you're going to be, and then reality hits in the first game of the season, you get hit on the chin, and all of a sudden it's everything's for real. Like, it's gone from the talk and the hype and everything like that to now you've got to deliver. And I don't know, maybe for a lot of Bills fans out there, they want to hope that they've got a good hit on the chin and they're going to react to it. But it did really seem like that for me.
Well, the NFC West, all teams came up with a win this week, and that is going to be the most difficult division to predict. We know that the Seahawks won it last year, but the Cardinals looked exceptionally good. The 49ers bounced back and put up some really big points against the Lions. It is just going to be, the Rams obviously looked fantastic there with Matt Stafford at the helm. And of course, this is just going to be a really, really hard conference to try and predict. What are your thoughts there, Marco?
Yeah, agree, Paige. We said that when we're looking at the futures going into week one, that it was going to be near impossible to pick the winner. I know there's only 4 options, but you can make a very good case for all 4. And after week one's results, I don't think you'd either change your opinion or give a leg up to another side. I think they're really all good sides and all very even at the moment. So 2 sides are going to miss out at come to the end of the year.
Who do you think is going to make those 2 spots there, Corey, going into the postseason, just based off what you saw from week one? And I know it's a big prediction, but I want to hear your thoughts. Don't be shy. Don't sit on the fence.
No, well, I am going to sit on the fence. I'm going to pick. I'll pick. Yeah, because I'm talking to you, Paige, and I like you, I'm actually going to pick the team that's sitting right behind me. I'll pick the San Francisco 49ers as one. But look, maybe the other one, it's hard to. I was a big fan of Matt Stafford beforehand, and even more so with the way that he went about it. So, yeah, if I had to pick him right now, I'd probably go Rams and 49ers.
Now, to cap off the weekend, Monday Night Football was an absolute classic. You couldn't have predicted the way that this game ended. 3 times the ball was handed over to opposition offenses, and we know it's basically last score wins games. But I mean, leading up to that, Marco, give us your thoughts. What an absolute corker of a game to finish the first week of the round.
Yeah, what a showpiece for the new stadium as well. Geez, the facilities look great there, and they didn't want to go home, Paige. That's why they went into overtime and really kept it to the end. They
With the
didn't
nightclub in the end zone, I wouldn't be going home either. Give me that bottle service.
Jeez, I tell you what, was there some goose drunk on the screens as well? It was awesome. Yeah, that was a crazy finish. It was. If you haven't seen it, go and check out the replay. For the Raiders to actually celebrate the win as well. Everyone was on the ground, and for them to clear, it must be a flat feeling to have to go back, then throw an interception, but then come back and get the win. That was, it was unbelievable start to the week and a better finish.
Corey, could you have imagined at the end of week one that Derek Carr would have thrown the most yards of all QBs in week one? Incredible finish and an incredible throw, and why there was no safety there for the Ravens, I will have no idea why. They pulled everyone up, but they got that winning touchdown in the end. Huge clutch throw by Derek Carr. Overtime. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, Paige, even considering that two of the greats were calling the game, and so for any NFL fans out there, make sure, and I think I've just seen it updated today moving forward, that the Peyton Manning and Eli Manning is going to the main channel. And if you haven't heard it, if you can listen to Eli and Peyton, and even Eli said they nearly fell off their chair with the coverage that happened in that final play. And as I mentioned, seriously, to borrow the Molly Meldrum line, do yourself a favour, because moving forward, to hear Peyton and Eli talk about the game like that, and the guests they had on there, they had Charles Barkley and Russell Wilson and these sorts of guys. But to go back to that final play, yeah, even Eli nearly fell off his chair. That they couldn't get over the lack of coverage in that final play.
Honestly, as you said, Corey, if you haven't seen the Manning brothers talking football and doing the coverage of that game, it is honestly some of the best comical stuff you'll ever see, particularly with Peyton with the Ravens helmet on, had me in absolute stitches. But boys, there's four things for me. There's four key takeaways and questions that I have off the back of week one of the NFL season. I'm going to ask you both a couple of questions each, and I want to get your thoughts on it. But Corey, Trevor Lawrence, number one draft pick. He threw 3 interceptions for the Jags on debut. Is that a worry? Should we be concerned?
Look, I don't think it's a worry. I think there was, he actually did perform outside of that. He actually wasn't too bad. Look, it's a new experience for him this week, and I nearly fell off my chair. He hasn't lost a game in football or college, and this week is an amazing experience for him. Who would have thought? You're not getting to the pros and you haven't lost a game of football. And look, from what I've seen, the way he carries himself, it seems like from the outside he's got a really good head on his shoulders, but hey, his NFL journey's well and truly begun in no uncertain terms, because he's going to get used to that feeling maybe more times than not this year. He's going to lose a lot, and he's going to have to learn a lot out of it.
Look, you're not wrong. I don't think you can be a great footballer if you're going to be careful with the football, particularly as a QB. So making those plays, attempting those, they're going to come in time. But Marco, over at Tennessee, the Titans, they allowed 38 points in their loss to the Cardinals. Should Tennessee be worried?
Yeah, it wasn't a great start from him, was it? Build on defense to give up 38. Granted, Tyler Murray was on fire, and they did put him to the sword. And the problem is with sides that are built on defense, generally they don't have a plan B to go to if the other team do start scoring, that they can't keep up with them. And I think that was the case for Tennessee. I'm not going to set them down the river week one. I actually stay out of betting week one for the NFL. You've got to give them a second chance. I think looking forward for Tennessee, now they've got to go into Seattle, and that's going to be a tougher game. If they bring the same intent and attitude that they turned up with Arizona, it might get ugly week 2 as well for Seattle. So it'll be interesting to see how they fight back, and maybe judge them next week.
Corey, Andy Dalton, he didn't throw a touchdown in the Bears' loss on Sunday. Should we be worried?
I'd be worried. I'd be worried about the reaction when going back into Chicago, because in the preseason, the drums were beating well and truly for Justin Fields. And, you got to feel for it when your own fans really turn on that. But I suppose you get that with passionate fan bases like Chicago and New York and these sorts of places. But yeah, I don't know. Eventually, push is going to come to shove, and I get the feeling sooner rather than later that Justin Fields will be the starter.
It's funny because I just don't think Andy Dalton's going to be the guy to win your games. He doesn't play poorly enough to warrant a bench start, but he doesn't play good enough to really maintain constant game time on field either. I feel like they're going to be in a bit of limbo, the Chicago Bears, for a little bit of a while to come. But for you, Marco, and we're staying with your guys, the Bills, Buffalo, they scored their fewest points since the start of the 2020 season. Only one touchdown on 4 red zone drives. Is that a worry?
Yeah, he's sending Buffalo down the river as well, early Paige. I tell you what, you've got
Tampa. The tough questions in week 1.
You've got Tampa Bay at 10-0 already, and we're after week 1, and you've put the X's and O's through a few others. Yeah, not a great start for Buffalo on their home deck. We briefed on it earlier with how good Pittsburgh were. The same can be said for Buffalo. Really disappointing at home. They've got high expectations this year. But I think that, it might, I'm going to say it's going to motivate them going forward. Again, I want to see week 2. They're going to Miami this week. So we'll see after week 2. I just think that, week 1 you can either be on or off really quickly, and you can be either made to look really good or really bad, and I just think you need to at least look into week 2 and week 3 just for it to settle down. So Buffalo's another team I'll be looking forward to see how they go next week.
I'll tell you what, if they're going to win that Super Bowl or even push for one, they need to play some deep ball football. They need to get that run game going. It's a bit of a concern for me. But what are the highlights? And we've kind of poked out a few little question marks on teams in week 1, but the Philly boys, for me, this week were absolutely outstanding. For the Australians, we saw Aaron Sipos on debut. We saw Jordan Mailata having just newly signed a massive contract as a starting left tackle for the Eagles. Both put on huge performances. We saw Jordan Berry absolutely hit a monster kick in extra time. We saw Cameron Johnston, he was out in new colours for the Texans in a win that I don't think many of us saw coming. And I think overall it was a pretty good week for the punters, for the Aussie punters. Michael Dixon, if you haven't seen his little gimmicky fake punt taking on a couple of guys, he looked like a halfback in AFL, just taking on all the opposition players and just running from defence. But we've got a special interview coming up. We're going to stick with the Philadelphia theme here. Corey McKernan caught up with Andrew DiCecco from InsideTheBirds.com to talk all things Philadelphia, and in particular, Aaron Sipos' debut and Jordan Mailata mayhem.
Well, thanks, Paige. We've got a special guest of third and long, and to talk all things Eagles, we've got Andrew DiCecco on the line, who's a staff reporter, content producer for InsideTheBirds.com, covering all things Eagles, NFL draft. How you going, mate?
Hey, how you doing, man? Good to be with you. I appreciate you having me.
You must be after a fantastic start on the weekend, winning on the road 32-6. What was the most impressive thing about the win for you?
Well, I don't think anyone, Corey, could have imagined the Eagles winning in that fashion, that type of offensive onslaught. I had the Eagles personally winning 24-20, but what I will say is it didn't look particularly good on that first drive. They got the Falcons got Mike Davis going. They found Calvin Ridley a number of times, and the Eagles defense missed a ton of tackles and looked a little shaky. However, the Eagles offense got off to a very fast start and piled up some points, which allowed their defensive line, which they've invested a ton of resources in, to pin their ears back and really eliminated the Falcons' element of surprise in Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts and rendered them sort of ineffective, which really started to let the game spiral out of control. And obviously that's what transpired, and that's why they were able to win in such a dominant fashion. So, I mean, it was we'll see what happens. I mean, these are the games that you would like to see the Eagles win, that they're supposed to win against a team like an inferior team like the Falcons. They don't have a ton of defensive playmakers or offensive playmakers for that matter, outside of obviously Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts. But this coming week against the San Francisco 49ers, that's an entirely different story. But the Eagles definitely got off on the right foot on Sunday.
And it was it. And you find a little bit too, like Jalen Hurts, he's nearly flying under the radar a little bit at the moment with all the talk of all these other young quarterbacks in the competition. It's interesting at the moment, but he was very impressive on the weekend, wasn't he?
Absolutely. And what really stuck out to me, obviously Jalen's always known for his signature poise, but just his overall command of the offense, delivering the football with accuracy, getting rid of the football quickly, and hanging in the pocket a little bit longer than he has last year. Instead of deciding to run, I thought he hung in there and let his routes develop and just made smart decisions, man. He took care of the football, and last season that was one of the concerns coming into this season, because last season he struggled with the turnover battle and fumbled the football and things of that nature. But I thought he was in full command of the offense, and I thought Nick Sirianni put him in position to be successful, accentuated his strengths, and as well as everyone on the offense. And you saw an explosive offense that was putting up points in bunches.
Now, it's great to talk about all those guys, but let's get onto the serious stuff now, Andrew. Let's talk about our Aussie boys, and in particular, Big Jordan Mailata. Yeah. He's such an amazing story. Tell us what the locals in Philly think of Jordan, because I mean he's such an amazing story and his journey and where it's ended up now.
Well, just like you said, just an incredible story of someone who, prior to 2018 being drafted, hadn't put on an NFL helmet, hadn't taken a single snap. He was drafted in 2018 in the 7th round. And a lot of times when you see a player of his size and athleticism, you take a flyer on somebody like that and you hope it works out. At best, you hope that they become a contributing backup player or something to that effect. I don't think even the Eagles thought that Jordan Mailata would become a franchise caliber left tackle who they handsomely rewarded on Saturday with a $64 million contract over 4 years. They saw the upside. You see someone in Jordan who continuously gets better, to be able to move laterally and have that kind of power. You don't see players like that, Corey. They don't come around often. And you have to give credit to Jordan for putting the time in, because let's not forget the 2018 and 2019 seasons for him were pretty much lost seasons. He struggled with a back injury. So what he did was he put in the work on the side. And you also have to give credit to Jeff Stoughton, the offensive line coach, who has really helped Jordan take that leap from just an intriguing prospect to being a franchise left tackle, which is incredibly remarkable when you look at where he was, just a couple seasons ago. You were wondering if this guy was going to make the roster, if that experiment was going to end. And he just has too many intriguing tools. And like I said, the crazy thing is he continuously gets better. He has not even reached the ceiling yet. And I think the Eagles saw that and were quick to, try to lock him down in the long term. And, I think he has the potential to be one of the, bona fide top tackles in football after this season. I think he's going to become a household name.
And it was a pretty reasonable block on the weekend, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And that was something that you sort of expect. And his eyes sort of lit up, because obviously with your background, you know how it is, being an Australian rules player, when you get that opportunity to have a shot like that, you crave contact and you go for it. And when they asked Jordan about it after the game, he said, "I was just doing my job." But you're going to see a lot more of that. And I think you're going to see a lot of players when they see themselves one-on-one with Jordan, it's going to become a business decision. And you might see an Olay move from some of these defenders, because they don't want to get pancaked by the big man. Yeah,
it's not something that I'd envisage. When I see the big boy coming at me now. Speaking of the other one that has, one was rugby league, being Jordan, that's doing an amazing job, and his transformation into the NFL. But the other one who played another sport in Australia called AFL. Now, Aaron Sipos continued the Aussie connection with taking over with Cam Johnson, and he had a great game first up, didn't he?
Oh, it was unbelievable. He had 3 punts inside the 10, 4 punts for 189 yards, averaging 47.3 yards a punt in your NFL debut. I mean, last season, I believe he spent the large part of the season on the Detroit Lions practice squad. But what a find for the Philadelphia Eagles. Sipas ran uncontested. There was no other punters in training camp, so they obviously had a lot of confidence in him. The Eagles did, that he had some sort of ability. They didn't go out and get a veteran to challenge him or anything to that effect. And he really proved the Eagles right for sort of showing that kind of confidence in him. And he goes out there and just has a incredible debut. And I mean, what a find! I mean, he obviously he played at Auburn. He's a little bit of an older player. I think he's 28 years old. But just to find someone who hasn't played in an NFL game yet, again, when you look at a player like that, you talk about Cam Johnson, you're looking at someone with upside and a big leg. And you hope that you get them with a good special teams coach and they can sort of, refine their skill set and it'll work itself out. And that's really what you saw with Sipas. And I think that he's always going to get better. And just much like Jordan Mailata, obviously they play different positions, but they're just going to keep getting better. And I don't think that they've scratched the surface of how good they can be. You got to speak to him. I mean, his journey is just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. And you know what you need to do, Andrew, and I think you'll have a bit of a chuckle to this. I think you need to ask, when you get the chance to talk to Aaron, just ask him, and there's a couple of kicks in AFL parlance. Ask him when he's going to kick a drop punt or a banana, and he'll have a bit of a he'll have a bit of a chuckle. Just say to him, when are you going to kick a banana? And he'll, in his head will snap, and he'll know that you're very much with the lingo with the Australian rules football.
Oh, that's great. I have to ask him that. I definitely will this year.
Now, just before we close, and it's great to sit down and talk all things Eagles. The NFC division, what's the expectation with Philly? You're in a pretty high profile division, but where do you think Philly are at?
Well, it's very interesting, Corey, because I get asked this question. I got asked it a lot leading up to Sunday, and it's sort of up for it's anyone's game, really, because you have the Dallas Cowboys, who always seem to have the high flying offense and the name brand guys, and they have Jerry Jones, and they have that allure, but they always seem to falter, and they can't necessarily put together a full season. So I'm out on them. But what I think, and then the Washington football team, they have a very strong defense, but there's a lot of questions obviously about their offense. They just lost their quarterback, Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's on IR with a nasty hip injury. Now Taylor Heineke takes over, and you don't know how that's going to go moving forward. And then the Giants, I think, are going to be, the basement, and they're going to be at the basement of the division, because Daniel Jones does not have what it takes. Obviously, this is year 3 for him. He's not moving the needle for that offense. Saquon Barkley, the offense runs through him, and they're just a very limited team on what they're able to do. I think they have some pieces on defense, but not enough on offense to put together any kind of a streak or make some headway in the division. So to me, it comes down to the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Dallas Cowboys have a stronger defense, I think, and they have Dak Prescott, who is a proven commodity. However, the Eagles have Jalen Hurts, who's still pretty much a mystery, Corey, when you look at what he can really do. And he's with a coach right now that's really going to play to his strengths and tailor the offense around his athletic traits. And there's not a lot of film on him. And I think he knows that they're, from a tactical approach, I think you're going to find them be able to attack the Cowboys when they go head to head. They have a number of young receivers that they can take the top off of the defense, and they have a defense, and they're stronger than Dallas on both sides of the offensive line and on the defensive line, which is ultimately where the game is won. So I think it's ultimately going to come down to those two teams, but I like the Eagles to win that division.
Well, you'll probably make Stephen A. Smith happy once again that if it goes deep into December, that all the hopes of the Dallas Cowboys will hinge on it'll come right down to the end and the Eagles go through and win the division.
Yeah, I think it could very well shape up that way if, health permitting, obviously.
Now, look, there are a lot of Eagles fans in Australia. I know that when we ran our Super Bowl parties, that the Eagles were also heavily supported. Now, just give the show a bit of a plug.
Yeah, well, first of all, that's just incredible to hear. And if anyone is looking to, consume more content, obviously listen to this podcast first and foremost, but head on over to InsideTheBirds.com and check out all of our writing and the Inside the Birds podcast as well, to kind of keep you in the loop of all things Eagles. This #1 Eagles podcast for Eagles Intel, of course. So give that a listen as well. And again, just appreciate all the support, and hopefully there's they can bring some joy to the fans out there. And the season starting off strong. So we'll see if they can keep that momentum going.
Well, look, we appreciate you sitting down today. And look, it's great to have a link in, especially with our Aussie boys in Jordan and Aaron Sipos over there at the moment. So I'm sure at some stage of the season we'll touch base again, but we look forward to catching up soon.
Yeah, we must. I had a blast talking to Eagles football with you, and let's stay in touch.
Thanks, mate. We'll talk soon. Welcome back. Time now for To The House, brought to you by topsport.com.au. Family owned and operated for 35 years. Bet with the bookie you can trust. Bet with topsport.com.au. Marco.
Thanks, Corey. To the house. We will intro Nick Toprope Tedeschi now. He's got a bit of head wobble as he comes in. Have a look at him. What a week one for you, Mr. Toprope. 5-0 in a bookies fill-up week. You can't get better than that, Toprope.
MG, there is no greater drug to go into the vein than getting up and watching NFL Red Zone 3 a.m. on a Monday morning and having bets flying everywhere and then coming out ahead. So, up and about. It was, look, it's a good weekend. Early on, you always want to be looking towards the underdog. That's the natural kind of way to go. The public's usually the other way. So, zagging when the public's zigging is where you want to be.
Let's not understate that performance. 5-0 week one is an outstanding effort. And we'll just put up the NFL bookie wrap quickly so the punters can get their heads around who missed all the games on the weekend. This week, week one, we had 7 out of 16 favourites win. Amazingly, only 4 out of 16 covered the line, which is incredible at 25%. The totals ran pretty consistently, 7 out of 16 there. And if we go into Toprope's To The House segment for week one, we'll just quickly go through his 5 winners that he tipped. And if you haven't joined his subs yet, you better get to Little Birdie Pod and get around for week 2 because no one should be missing out on the cash that Toprope provides. So if we look at week one's results quickly here, Toprope. Houston plus 3 at the line. Got the job done by 16 points, so they won very easily against Jacksonville. Cincinnati plus 3.5 at the line. Actually won the game outright against Minnesota. You had the Jets plus 5.5 at the line. You just scraped in there by half a point, but a win's a win. They only pay on the W. First total bet for the year, you went under in the Denver Giants game, 41.5. Got the job done there. And the final game, probably your best bet of the week, was the Rams minus 7.5, and they absolutely crushed the Bears by 20 points. So, Toprope, that was a great performance. What was your highlight of the weekend?
Going 5-0 in the best bets was probably my highlight of the weekend. From a betting point of view, I always enjoy seeing the games that come close to a line. So a bit of sympathy for those who took the late line on the 49ers minus 8.5. I think they led 41-7 and failed to cover the line there. So that was a tough watch for those punters. So lucky not to be on there. Like all gambling, MG, it's very, very difficult to remember the wins, but I absolutely can remember the bad losses. I was on Kansas City minus 4.5.
Oh, I know.
The decision to go for the 2 there went up by 4 for reasons that aren't really clear to both traditionalists or your analytics set.
Yeah.
I will say confused me at the time, and it just made me angry since when they didn't come in the cover. But look, it was just a great, great weekend of football. It was great to have it back. It was great, Red Zone on Monday. If you could ever get that jacked up at 3 a.m., without the use of any artificial enhancement, you are obviously watching Red Zone. So great to be back.
Yeah, I noticed there might have been a bit of phone damage in your house, Toprope, with the Kansas City line when they went for the 2. You were up and about on the text flowing through the day, and all of a sudden the phone went dead for a while. So I can only assume your phone might have hit the deck, just not taking the 1 and getting the chocolates for you. That was a bit disappointing. Lucky you won enough money to buy another phone.
You could go 20-0 and that beat will still cause a phone break. Don't worry about that. I was absolutely filthy. And what you really want, you want that to kind of get lost in the early set of games when there's 9 of them. You don't need it when there's only 4 games left and there's very little room to chase out on afterwards. So Pretty disappointing. But Kansas City probably a touch overrated by the market. We might get to that a little bit later.
All right, that was fantastic performance week 1. Now we'll get on to week 2, and we've actually got 7 games to cover that are on TV for the upcoming week. So what we'll do, we're just going to get Top Rope's thoughts, and then we'll cross to both Paige and Corey and just get their thoughts on the game. So we've got plenty to cover. We're going to start on Friday, our time at 10:20 a.m. This game will be live on ESPN. It is the Giants v Washington. The current line here, Top Rope, is Washington -3.5, and the total is at 40.5. How do you see it?
Yeah, great bet here on the side, and great bet on the total here. I'll be backing the Giants +3.5 and the under in this one. Big angle here. Divisional road underdogs, September to November, have an ROI of +8.6%. That's going back to 2003. It's just a great angle that regularly hits. Divisional dogs in September, they cover at 56%. Road underdogs off a loss cover at 57%. The Giants are pretty good as an underdog, and they've covered 20 of 26 as a road underdog. Washington lost their quarterback. Ryan Fitzpatrick is out. They've covered just 5 of their last 16 against the East. 8 of 28 off a loss. 1 of 7 as a favourite. Give me the Giants with the 3.5 points. Great bet. And some big under angles here as well. The Giants, they've gone under in 14 of their last 17. They've gone under in 8 straight as an underdog. Washington have gone under in 10 of 11 on grass and 7 of 8 at home. So backing the Giants, backing the under. And for those who are after a little bit of the old Ric Flair, do the double.
Love the Ric Flair. What do we got, Paige? What are your thoughts on this game? Top Ropes tipping not many points.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? The Ryan Fitzpatrick omission here means Taylor Heinicke's going to start. That's not a winning team to me whatsoever. I do like the Giants here. I think we're going to see more from Barkley. He's going to get more carries in this game, and I think Kenny Golladay is probably going to step up too. Just a few more weapons, I think, for the Giants. But Corey, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think the Giants is as well. But they're just really got to stop those turnovers, because that's what's been killing them. So, but yeah, I do like the Giants in the NFC East Division.
Good to see you both getting on the Top Rope bandwagon. I can't believe you went 5-0. They're really looking to invest this week.
That's the only one. That's 3 of us.
Unbelievable.
No, there's plenty of subscribers that have been up and about in the last couple of days, and they're looking forward to this analysis for week 2. So we'll move on to the Monday set now. We've got a 3 a.m. game, which everyone loves getting up for. This will be shown on ESPN as well. We've got Las Vegas against Pittsburgh. The current line here is 5.5, and the total is 47 flat. Top Rope?
Yeah, tough game to assess here. Vegas have a ton of injuries. They've got injuries on both the offensive line and defensive line, which always gives pause. They've covered 4 or 5 as a road dog, but they've covered just 7 of the last 24 for win. Probably lean towards Pittsburgh here. They were impressive against Buffalo in week 1. Ben Roethlisberger stripping a lot fitter, but it was the defense by TJ Watt that really impressed the most there. They've covered 8 of 11 off a win, 18 of 26 of a cover. Haven't covered any of the last 4 as a favourite. That's probably what's giving me the biggest concern here. But leaning towards the -5.5 here.
Okay. Paige, what are your thoughts here? Your main man here, Najee Harris. How's he going to perform week 2?
Hey, he started at every snap for the Steelers in week 1, 52, mind you. That is, look, he didn't set the world on fire, but he's only going to get better as the season goes on. I'm very bullish about him, as I said, in terms of being an offensive rookie of the year. I like him here. In fact, I'd back him to even find his way into the end zone. I just think he's going to come up pretty clutch in this game and make a statement. And that pass rush for the Steelers going to cause all sorts of problems this year. Corey, what about you?
Yeah, I think the Steelers make it 2-zip, and who would have thought it could be after week 2 that they're sitting there 2-zip. I just can't see after a short week the Raiders backing up. I think in the end they were pretty lucky to win last week, and I can see the Steelers getting across the line in this one.
Yeah, good point there, Corey. On the short week, we'll see how much that influence that has on the game. Our second game in the 3 a.m. slot for us will be on 7 Mate, and we've got Denver Broncos v Jacksonville. We've currently got Denver line here at -6 flat, and the total's 45 flat. What have you got here, Top Rope?
One of my favourite betting angles going around here. Teddy Bridgewater. If you want to make cash, back Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater, 36, 13, and 1 against the spread as a starter. That is an obscenely good record. He's severely underrated by the market. Jacksonville, of course, have Trevor Lawrence starting. Will be good, but as we saw in week 1 against Houston, still has a long way to go. And I'm not sure Urban Meyer has fully adapted to the pro game yet either. Denver have covered 8 of 11 against teams with a losing record. Jacksonville, they've covered just 3 of their last 12, off conceding 30. Also be having a little something on the under here as well. They've covered Denver have gone under 11 of 15 as a road favourite, 17 of 23 off a win. So Denver are probably an unders team at the moment, and Teddy B usually gets it done. So Denver minus and the under, both reasonable confidence.
Top Rope sounds pretty confident on Denver -6 there, Paige. What about your QB here, Trevor Lawrence? How do you see this game?
Oh, look, it's going to be another tough week, I think, for Trevor Lawrence. They've got the worst defense in the league on the other side of the ball, and really, in essence, look like a college team playing NFL, I think, right now. Could be a pretty tough year for Jacksonville. I don't see them getting anywhere near Denver whatsoever. But, Corey, what about you? How are you seeing the Broncos in this matchup against the Jags?
Well, Top Rope and I are very much on the same page, because that might be my little special a little bit later on, where I've gone the line for Denver. But look, it really is a baptism by fire, I think, for Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence. Like, I mean, they can, like I said, it's all this feel-good story. They're coming into the league, but now it's going to be a case, the reality's hit, and the pressure's going to start to come for Urban Meyer. He used to be able to weave his magic in college, and same as Trevor Lawrence, never lost in high school or college. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I like Denver in this one as well.
Okay, all drinking from the same bathwater here. I like it. We get onto the afternoon schedule coming up. We've got our 6:25 game. I'm really looking forward to this one. They play the right way, these two teams. Cowboys against the Chargers. Interestingly enough, the Chargers have come up favourite here at -3 flat, and an unbelievable total here, Top Rope, 55.5. We got something here for the over punters.
Look, my natural inclination is to probably go on the over here, but the under is 8-2, and the Chargers are a home favourite, 11-4 when they play at home. So I'm going to let the total slide on this one. I find this game a really hard game to assess, but a couple of angles push me towards Dallas here. Road underdogs off a loss cover, 57%. East Coast teams playing afternoon games with West Coast, 57%. Are Dallas an East Coast team? I'm going to say yes, but it's probably stretching the friendship there a little bit. Couple of safeties questionable as well for the Chargers here. We know Dak is going to enjoy throwing it on the Chargers. So probably lean towards Dallas, 5-1 against the spread as a dog. Chargers 3-10 against the spread as a home favourite. Lean towards Dallas with the 3 points, but not a huge degree of confidence.
All right, Top Rope sounds like he might be icing himself on this game. Paige, in my assessment, I think it should be closer to Pick'em here. I know Chargers are at home, but I think Dallas will be up for this game, and I think they're right into it. How do you read this game?
Oh, massively. Like we spoke at the top of the show that, the Cowboys were, we had some massive takeaways from their game against the Bucks in the very first opening game of the year. And even without Zach Martin, Dak got them moving. Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. Obviously, Gallup's not going to be there this week. He's got an injury, but they've just got some really good offensive weapons at the receiver. And I just think they're really good value. If you've posted those matchups head to head, Cowboys are huge value this week, I think. But Justin Herbert, Corey, do you reckon he's going to get up for a 300-yard game in this one?
He may, but look, I'm outside of the last game, I'd be very bullish on this game. I think the Cowboys, they really showed a lot in the last game, and I think they'll actually get even better. So yeah, I'm very big on the Cowboys in this one as well.
All right, very good there. Our second game in the middle slot here at this one will be on 7 Mate at 6:25. We've got Tennessee against Seattle. Seattle here are favourites at home, -5 flats a line. Total currently at 53.5. Top rope, Tennessee were smashed last week by Arizona, and Seattle did the job pretty good. At home here, do you give Tennessee any chance of bouncing back?
Yeah, I do give them a chance. Like I'm probably not going to get too heavily involved in the side here, but road underdogs off a loss, cover 57%. Tennessee covered 7 of 10 on turf. The worry is this is usually a pretty good spot for Seattle under Pete Carroll. They've got a plus 12.2% ROI at home over Carroll. They've got a plus 11.5% ROI when they play outside the division under Pete Carroll. So, look, they've got a pretty poor record against teams with a losing record and if a win. Seahawks probably lean towards the Seattle Miners, but a absolute gun bet in this game. I'll be betting the over. Something for the punters late. Tennessee are a huge overs team. Since Ryan Tannehill's taken over the starting QB job at Tennessee, the over is 21-5-1. 6-1 when they're a dog, 6-1 on the road, 16-6 when they're off a loss of 14 or more. So I love the over in this one.
Plenty of points, Top Rope. I like this. The afternoon game, cheering home plenty of touchdowns, getting on the early beers. That's what you need on a Monday. Since we can't get out and play golf down here in Melbourne, I can only drink my way through 12 hours of NFL on a Monday. Paige, what do we got here? There's plenty of points here from Top Rope. Do you have a side either way?
Look, Seattle, the 13th man situation at home. I mean, I can't stand them, to be honest. I'm a 49ers fan, so it just comes with the territory of just disliking them. But yeah, look, it's hard to go against a team that's going to have, Russell Wilson at QB, flanked by Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. The combination there is just so deadly. They won the division title last year in the West, and there's no reason to suggest that they won't be going again for that. They just look really slick right now, I think. And Corey, you were telling me during the week that Russell Wilson's been working with a certain coach.
He has been. He's been working with Michael Jordan's coach, Tim Grover. I don't know whether people have heard me talking about it, but yeah, look, we all know that Russell Wilson's over the last few years, he always starts the season off really well. So it's not this time of year we're really concerned about. It's been in that late November, December. He hasn't really been as good in previous years. And look, if he can find a way to stay consistent throughout the season, he could be a real smoky for the MVP.
Very good there, Corey. Okay, this one I'm looking forward to. This is our late Monday game. Both coming off absolute belters last week. We've spoken about this before. This game will be shown on ESPN Monday at 10:20. Kansas City at Baltimore. The current line here is the Chiefs at -4 flat, and the total is pretty healthy, 55.5 Top Rope. 2 classics last week, one lost in overtime. How do you see this matchup with Kansas being away to Baltimore?
Is there anything better than you've just got through the early slate and then all of a sudden you've got Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Faith Hill in the old days. I don't know who this new lady is who's been doing it for the last 8 years, but seeing Sunday Night Football and having 2 cracking bets. I absolutely love the over and I absolutely love the plus, and I am very excited. So if I'm ahead, I'm doubling down. If I'm down, I'm doubling chasing. So back this in for a big bet. So absolutely love the over in this game as a starting point. Look, there's a few big defensive issues. Baltimore would be all kinds of concerned by conceding 33 points to the Raiders last week. And Kansas City have a few questionables on defense this week. Frank Clark and Honey Badger, Tyrann Mathieu, both questionable this week and may not play. So we'll see how that goes as the week comes. But the over is 16-6 when Kansas City play in September, 5-1 when they're off a non-cover. The over is 8-3 when Baltimore play on grass, 4-1 when they're at home, 4-0 when they're off allowing 30. So can really project as a very high-scoring game here. Also leaning towards the plus here. I think I'm pretty high on Baltimore this year. Week 1 was definitely concerning, but big bounce back spot for them here. They're 5-1 in their last 6 as a dog, 4-1 as their last 5 as a home underdog. Kansas City, some really concerning stats here. 2-9 in their last 11 as a favourite. 1-4 as their last 5 as a road favourite. 1-10 in the last 11 on grass. Only saving grace for Kansas City here, the ROI when they're on the road under Andy Reid is around 28%, which is absolutely insane. But I'm going to go with the Baltimore plus here, plus 3.5.
Like Baltimore. I half tuned out and I was writing down the over with a few X's next to it. So, we'll be a few little birdie lagers in by this stage. So I'll be toasting every touchdown. I love this. Paige, what do we got here? I hear a stat that Lamar Jackson is 0-3 against P. Mahomes. How does he shape up at home?
I know there's all this talk about Lamar Jackson and the kind of QB he is, and he's been setting records a lot here, there, and everywhere. But I'm telling you right now, he will be having absolute nervous sweats the night before he's got to come up against Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. 0-3 in his 3 career starts against the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes. I don't like it. This guy just can't figure out a way to beat the Chiefs. We've seen it a couple of times now. We judge him harshly, but we have to. He's one of the premier QBs of the comp. He's like a human toggle guy. Like you play PlayStation, you play Madden, and you're toggling around. That is Lamar Jackson. But he just can't get it together when he plays the Chiefs, and that concerns me. I just think that, really, the Chiefs have won their last 2 meetings at Baltimore by double digits. That speaks hugely to me, and I think that trend is going to continue.
Yeah, I just worry about with Lamar Jackson. Yeah, you're right. It just seems to mine at the moment, and even in Monday Night Football, I think he knows he's got to take on a lot of the responsibility about trying to win the game himself, and that's probably going to lead to a few errors. He knows he's got players out, and especially going in against Patrick Mahomes, it's going to be interesting to see, is he going to be patient enough to be able to work his way through the game? Because Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are really going to put scoreboard pressure on at all times. I'm just intrigued to see how he approaches this one. We know what we're going to get out of him with the running and everything like that, but it's all the pieces as a collective of what Baltimore can do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this match. I think there's, for the winner, a lot of positives obviously will come out, but there'll be a lot of pressure, especially if Baltimore go down 0-2. I think they've got some concerns going forward. So hopefully they put their best foot forward, and it's a close finish as well. Okay, as good as that game will be, the Monday night game in America, or our Tuesday at 10:20 a.m. on ESPN, we have our last match we're going through today is Detroit v Green Bay. The current market there, or in the marketplace, Green Bay are minus 10.5 and the total's 48 flat. Toprope, both coming off losses. How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, my first inclination was to be with Detroit on this one. Divisional road underdogs have such a good record. Being tempered a little bit by the fact that Detroit has covered just 3 of their last 10 as a road dog, 4 of their last 13 on the road, 13 of their last 40 off conceding 30 plus, and 10 of their last 34 scoring 30 plus. So bad spot here for Detroit. Conversely, massive Aaron Rodgers spot here. Aaron Rodgers all-time 66-39-4 at home. 24-12 at home against the division, 47-27 against the division, full stop. Covered 8 of 9 off a loss, 16-5 off a non-cover, and 7-1 off conceding 30 plus. So I think this is a big bounce back spot for Green Bay. So we'll be back in Green Bay with a good degree of confidence. But maybe my favourite total of the week here will be steaming into the over. Both huge overs. What did the Detroit game made up? 74 points last week. 7-1 over off a loss. 7-1. So 5-1 in the division. 7-2 when Detroit were a dog. The over is 35-17. Green Bay in September. 4-1 when they're favourite. 11-6 when they play in conference. So love the over in this one, particularly with some defensive back concerns at Green Bay and Detroit, with a couple of questionables there. So monitored injury list, but I'll be backing the over, and I expect this total to go north and continue to climb.
Just a quick question, Top Rope. That we saw the totals week 1 were pretty even, 7 out of 16. You seem to be leading to a lot of overs in the matches we're discussing this week. Do you think going into week 2 that the offenses generally get the better of the defenses or start to work them out and there are more points scored? Or is it just how you're seeing week 2's matches?
More just how I'm seeing week 2 matchups, to be honest. You really want to... Totals are best avoided when you kind of get contrasting teams. I think you can go one of either way. When you've got a couple of over teams playing, they're just loose games, right? And I definitely see a good degree of looseness, especially that Sunday night and Monday night game, where offenses are getting more high power. Rules have continually been made to allow those teams to kind of throw it, and there's just more inclination to throw now. Like, you're seeing a whole new generation of coaches coming. You've got Matt LaFleur coming in. Andy Reid's probably the godfather of that new generation of coaches, even though he's been around for so long. But where they're throwing the ball, where offense is absolute king, and that kind of stands in pretty stark contrast to 4 or 5 years ago, where it was defense wins Super Bowls, defense win premierships. So I think my natural inclination is to probably go with the overs when you kind of find a couple of good over teams, particularly overs on bad defensive sides. Okay,
very good. Paige, what do you got? Sounds like a bit of fireworks Monday Night Football. I'm not sure if you put Green Bay in the bin earlier. You were doubting Rodgers. Do you think he can bounce back under the Monday night lights?
I was embarrassed last week for backing the Packers. They absolutely let me down. They had a league low of 229 yards in week 1. That's just so un-Green Bay-like. That is actually a concerning stat line for me. Rodgers had the league worst QB rating after week 1 as well. But look, in the last 4 meetings, 3 of those have been decided in under 7 points. So this suggests that it may actually be a little bit closer than perhaps what it looks like on paper. But look, neither side had a great week in week 1. I have to go Green Bay. I'm going to back them and get a bit of redemption here, I think, but I don't do so with confidence. I don't know. Corey, you and I have spoken about this so much during the week about everything happening at Green Bay. For me, they're just a bit of a danger team at the moment, but what do you think?
No, I reckon Aaron Rodgers gets him back on track. You're forgetting he's the reigning MVP. I know there were a bit of shenanigans last week. He's going to be pretty embarrassed about that last week. And I think you're going to see a pretty angry and pissed off Aaron Rodgers this week with a point to prove. And I love that points overs top rope. I love it.
And I'm rocking the Aaron Rodgers man bun today in solidarity. So I've come here on a mission. And I think Aaron's going to appreciate this, and he's going to go and win us some money, I think. So Green Bay.
Okay, sounds like Paige is doubling down on a Green Bay bet from last week that went amiss, and she also is on board with Top Rope there. If you like what you hear from Top Rope, I can't advertise it anymore. 5-0 week 1 was an awesome performance where a lot of favourites went amiss. Get to littlebirdie.com. In the Little Birdie shop, go to the house, and for $22 a week or the whole season for $366. If you're serious about your NFL punting, get to topsport.com.au. Okay, quick look at the current TopSport odds for the Super Bowl after week 1. We've currently got the Chiefs sitting still at $5.60. Tampa Bay are the decent movers into $5.90. The Bills and Rams are both at $11 with the 49ers. We've got a couple of drifters off losses. Are the Browns at $14, the Packers at $15, and Baltimore at $17.
Well, each week, each of our panel will be granted $100 to invest, and all the profits, well, they'll go to my organisation called Walk With Me Online, which we're doing some awesome work in the space of mental and physical fitness. So it's very much needed in today's environment. Now, last week, you all need to lift. 2 of us brought home the chocolates, obviously Top Rope and myself, but Paige and MG, you need to lift. So let's get on to the predictions for week 2. We'll go to Top Rope first. What do you got for us, brother?
Look, it's good to work with at least one of the professional Corey and get the job done. So, I'm on the over 48 in the Detroit Green Bay game. So we're going to come home with a bang here.
All right, and I'm going to go the Broncos -6 at the line. So I've chosen that one. MG, what are you doing? Please lift. We want something out of you.
Yes, I'm going to lift with Houston, Cleveland total over 48 for your charity.
Beautiful. And Paige, well, I can see who you're picking. I was nearly very close to doing the same thing. Who have you gone for, please?
Look, the Cowboys, I think they're a good thing this week. I've backed them at the +3. I think this is going to be good money. I'm ready for redemption. I could have gone the Packers, but I'm a little bit, once bitten, twice shy. Cowboys for me. I like what we saw last week. Now, boys, on to the biggest ticket item here today on Third and Long TV. We've got some tickets to give away to our Superbowl party at the end of the year. I mean, punters are going to be excited to see me. Don't know about you lot. But anyway, you can enter by tagging us at Little Birdie TV. We're going to put up a post on Twitter. All we want to know is who will win in the very first game, which is Friday morning. And you need to tell us which team wins and by what margin. And the closest to the marker is going to score 2 tickets to the Super Bowl party with us. And by me, I mean me. Again, Corey's not much chop. MG, I'm not sure what you're bringing to the table. And, well, Nick, you're all right. You can hang around. But come and join us on social media. You can get us at Third and Long TV on Twitter. Tell us your entry this week, and hopefully you're a winner, and we'll see you at the party.
Well, that's another episode of Third and Long in the can. Thanks to all the Third and Long crew. Follow us on YouTube and find us at the Apple Store, on Spotify or SoundCloud or wherever you listen to your podcast. And make sure you check us out on socials, Little Birdie TV on Twitter and Instagram. Remember, follow all your NFL action be found at topsport.com.au. And remember, invest wisely, punters.